smeefu here, and today we have a deep dive extension from yesterday's video where we will go in depth on the actual builds I use for Haze when playing either of her playstyles. I like to call the first build Brawler and the second build Ricochet Rush. I go in depth on what items I use for each build and choices you will have to make throughout the game based on different situations. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on what hero you would like to see next. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video. Alright guys, so even though I'm showing you two builds today for two different playstyles, they both start off with pretty much the same core items and lane items. So we'll go over those first. The first thing I like to buy on Haze is Spirit Strike. Spirit Power from this item is just going to give us 2 extra bullets, which sure is nice. And then it's also going to give us 100 Spirit Shield health, which helps so much with Haze being how squishy she is. An extra 1 regen, which is beautiful, and melee damage percentage, plus the 52 burst spirit damage you're going to deal when you punch someone. In a 1v1 lane, this is the item you want to go for mainly, because you're going to be able to hit sleeps and melees from sleeps much more often than in, say, a 2v2 lane, and much more reliably, because their duo partner won't be able to follow up and punish you for trying to punch their teammate. So this is the item you want to go in 1v1 lanes. It gives you a huge punish, and it's amazing for that reason. If you're in a duo lane, and it's one where you don't think you're going to get too many punches off, then you probably want to go for extra spirit. You're also going to get some bonus health here. You're going to get spirit power, but more than spirit strike, so you're going to get more ammo, and you're going to get the health regen that you need as well, which also helps with Haze's squishiness. It's a great first item to get. You can substitute it for ammo scavenger if you want. You will actually get more ammo from this item, and when you shoot souls throughout the lane, you're going to see your total ammo count going up. And these ammo stacks last for 35 seconds. So as long as you're CSing and denying consistently, you'll end up with a lot more bullets in the clip. It says 2 ammo per soul, but it's definitely not giving us 2 ammo per soul. It's giving us 1. So 12 max stacks will give us 12 extra bullets. This item is a very good first item for Haze as well. But I like to go extra spirit because it upgrades into improved spirit and boundless later on if you ever want to get those, just for more ammo and more duration on your abilities, as Bullet Dance and Smoke Bomb both scale with Spirit Power. So then the next item I go for is Basic Mag. Again, just going for more ammo. This is going to help you push wave, and you're going to actually be able to deal more poke, because at the start of the game, Haze's bullets don't do too much damage, so having more ammo is important. On top of extra spirit, you're going to have 39 with this. If you went for ammo scavenger, you'll have 45 somewhere around there. Now we have to start working on Haze's most important part, which is fire rate. Fixation scales with fire rate because every fixation stack you apply gives you extra weapon damage against the target. So fire rate is the aim of all Haze builds, to build up fixation as quickly as possible. Rapid rounds is a great early buy because the fire rate is also going to make your CS so much more consistent. You're going to be able to just, as soon as you see a minion die, spray up at the soul. And it's going to be very hard to get souls off of you. You're pretty good at CSing once you have rapid rounds. The problem with rapid rounds is the minus 50 max health. So we now have to offset that with extra health. I think it's pretty much a must buy on Haze. She's so squishy and she gets so little health per level that extra health really just helps her be able to survive in the early game, especially in lane. Now we're going to save up for probably the best item in any Haze build, especially since they now buffed it to give 10% ammo. This item is incredible value. 22% fire rate is just insane for Haze for 1,200. And then putting the ammo on top of it is insane. Now your CS is pretty much unmatched. It's going to be very hard for people to CS against you. You're going to be forcing them to melee minions so that you can't deny them, because your CS is now very, very powerful. Here you have choices depending on how your lane's going. If you need more 100% sustain, then you can go for sprint boots to get the health regen and just extra base health. Or you could save up for bullet lifesteal if you need more sustain. But usually I would go for active reload. Active reload is extremely powerful. When you pop it, you're going to get 20% bullet lifesteal and a crazy amount of fire rate. And you can see how much damage Haze is able to deal with these items. Another option instead of active reload is kinetic dash. Does a similar thing for you, although it does have much more uptime. It's only a 10-second cooldown and an 8-second duration, rather than a 17-second cooldown and a 7-second duration. It also gives you extra movement, making your dash jump only cost 1 stamina rather than 2. And after you perform this dash jump, you're going to get a crazy amount of fire rate. You could, if you wanted to, skip basic mag completely go straight for rapid rounds, and get both of these items. It's very viable, probably what I recommend as well. But you will find yourself struggling for ammo if you're not always able to pop your kinetic dash to get the extra 5 bullets. So, I want to quickly talk about why I despise Tesla bullets and how overrated this item is. It's going to cost you 3,000 souls just to give you 14% fire rate as a start. The shock damage is very negligible for actual team fights and brawling. If you ever use this item, check your damage percentages after the game on the stats page. And Tesla bullets is always going to be a very low percentage of your damage. It's not going to be much at all. So you're only getting 14% fire rate and you're proccing your bullet resist shredder with this item, right? However, Haze specifically does not need that. Almost every time she fights, because you're building fire rate already on Haze, you're going to stack 20 stacks of fixation to get the spirit damage very, very fast. Boom, bullet resist shredder is already active. And that's not to mention if you sleep them and deal spirit damage as well, right? So you have very easy access to bullet resist shredder already. You do not need Tesla for that reason at all. The other thing I see people say about Tesla is that it's good for farming jungle camps. And it helps Haze farm early game. While I agree, it's nice for farming jungle camps, Haze is one of the heroes that you are 100% going to buy Ricochet on. So buying Tesla farm just slows down your progress towards Ricochet in reality, because you're 100% going to buy this item. So instead of buying Tesla, you should always buy a cheaper item for fire rate, which is going to help you in fights, give you more fire rate, mind you. Active reload is going to give me more fire rate than Tesla will, and so is kinetic dash. And for these small engagements, they're going to be way better than Tesla with PvP in mind. Then you are now going to have spent 1.8k less on a fire rate item. You still have your access to bullet resist shredder, and you're going to get Ricochet much faster, which is the most important part about Haze when it comes to farming. Not to mention that it is genuinely the best item with Haze's kit because of her ult. So now that your DPS is through the roof, we're going to make Haze a little bit more sustainable. We're going to get her sprint boots, an extremely important item for Haze. She wants to be able to move around the map fast, set up ganks with her sleep dagger, and she also wants the health regen from it. Can't complain about that at all. Also upgrades to enduring speed late game, which is one of the best items for Haze. If Haze is getting slowed, she's in big trouble because she is very squishy. So she needs this slow resist late game, but we'll get onto that. Now you're going to opt to go for either more sustain or an extra mag and more fire rate. I usually go for Quicksilver Reload here, just because it's such a huge power spike and it increases your killing power heavily. Now you have active reload and kinetic dash. You're going to be doing something like this. You're going to be invis. You're going to pop your active reload, kinetic dash at someone, beam them, sleep them, beam them some more. And it's a crazy amount of damage this early in the game. You're going to be able to gank people very easily. And it's going to be very hard for people to stop you from just shutting them down like that. Also, an incredible thing you can do is once you have your first point in your ult, the 7 weapon damage, which I like to get third. I like to go 2 points in fixation, 1 point in ult. Once you have this set up, your ult is also going to deal crazy damage to 1, maybe even 2 targets. You pop your active reload, beam a little bit, sleep, ult. And that damage is just crazy. It's really insane. You wouldn't have this skill yet, but it's still going to be a crazy amount of damage. So next, we're definitely going to pick up our bullet lifesteal to just help our overall sustain and make trades more takeable for us, because without bullet lifesteal, we literally can't afford to take trades with basically anyone, because sure, we deal a lot of damage, but we're also the most squishy hero in the game at this point. So now we've got the base out the way, we're going to move on to what I like to call the Brawler build version of Haze. This is the build that comes online in terms of ult potential a little bit later than the ult focus build, but your gank power and your brawling power is going to be way more powerful a lot earlier than if you were to go the ult build. So in my opinion, it's not as good to play this build because Haze's true power is when she gets her ult to be incredible. However, it's a very, very fun playstyle and is definitely viable and can be very, very good. Here you're going to have a few options on what to go. A great item to go is Return Fire. This item is going to give you extra fire, which is always good. And it's also going to give you 70% bullet damage returned when you activate the item every time someone shoots at you. Now, this counts as a bullet. So with active reload and bullet life still popped, while you're trading with someone, Any bullets they're shooting back at you, you're going to deal 70% of the damage back to them, and you're going to heal 48% of that damage, as well as the damage you get from shooting at them, right? So the goal with Brawler Haze is not to out-sustain the enemy, because she's never going to do that. She's pretty squishy and a very weak hero when it comes to sustain. So the goal is to out-DPS. You're going to DPS race anyone you're fighting. So Return Fire helps with that by giving us fire rate, a little bit more health, spirit power, and returning damage they're doing to us at the same time. 1v1ing a Haze with this build this early is very hard for almost any hero in the game. Now, the next item could even go before Return Fire, but you want them both at some point. Either Slowing Hex, then Return Fire, or Return Fire, then Slowing Hex. But yeah, the next item is Slowing Hex. This item is great for Haze because her gank potential is so huge. You can sleep people from invis and set up ganks. And Slowing Hex is just going to make sure they can't use their movement abilities. So it's just going to make it a lot harder for people to get away from your ganks and a lot easier for you to secure kills. So the way you would do this is you would be in invis, you would spot a target, pop your active reload, pop your connect dash, open up with a Slowing Hex, beam them a lot, sleep them, and finish them off. Early game when people don't have enduring speed yet, the slow from Slowing Hex is actually incredibly potent, and it also is going to slow their dash speed. So when you Slowing Hex someone on Haze this early, when they won't have enduring speed or any slow resist, it's going to make it very, very hard for them to not die to you because they're moving much slower and it's much easier for you to track their head or even track their body. Now, the next item you pretty much always want to go on Haze is Bullet Resist Shredder. And that's because Fixation is going to give us the spirit damage we need to proc this item. The 60 spirit damage and 15% slow for 2 seconds every time the target takes 20 stacks of Fixation. You need to do spirit damage to proc this item. So when he hits 20 stacks in the next shot, it's going to proc a Bullet Resist Shred, which again just makes our combo even stronger and makes us even more powerful in duels and ganks. Now, at this point in the build, for Brawler Haze, you're going to make a choice. That choice is going to have to be, do you want to go Lucky Shot or not? Because this is the item you're going to be saving for next if you're going to go for Lucky Shot. Lucky Shot is by far the highest consistent DPS item that Haze can get. That's because when it procs, as you can see, it procced there, it applies an extra stack of Fixation, as well as dealing the 80% bonus damage on the shot that it procs on. So you're going to proc Fixation much faster with Lucky Shot, and you're also going to be dealing a lot more damage and applying a slow. So this item makes Haze a left-click monster. It makes her left-click incredible. The problem with Lucky Shot is that it does not interact with bullets from your ult at all. So you have spent 6k and the best part of your kit late game doesn't benefit from it at all, aside from the 18% weapon damage base. Obviously, the ammo is irrelevant because your ult is infinite ammo. I urge you to try this. It is very, very fun for Brawler Haze. It's going to make your left click incredibly powerful when you're running around, coming out of invis, setting up ganks. You're going to kill people very, very fast. You're going to shred them to death so quickly, and it's very, very fun. You should 100% try it, but it's not for everyone, and I don't like to do it if I'm tryharding because, like I said, it delays the power spike of your ult too much. It's 6k spent delaying your ult really, really hard. But yeah, for Brawler Haze, this is very important. It's definitely the best left click upgrade you can possibly get. At this point, you would probably go for Enduring Speed too. You're going to be fighting a lot more often, and people are going to have slows. So you need Enduring Speed just to be faster overall, and also to get the slow resist. Now, the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Brawler version of Haze is Veilwalker versus Burst Fire. So a lot of people here would buy Burst Fire, but I think a better way to play Brawler Haze is to buy Veilwalker. You're still going to have access to the 30% fire rate that Burst Fire gives you when you shoot someone, just by going for a Veil. So now every time you go for a Veil, your next mag is going to have its fire rate increased by 30%. So it's the same DPS increase as Burst Fire, minus the 12% fire rate there. But you're also getting 17% base health, shields that are refreshable every 15 seconds by going for a Veil, and 12% ammo. So this item is just definitely better for Haze than burst fire is. Plus, you can then combo it with combat barrier, which is going to give you weapon damage while shielded and fire rate while shielded. You would obviously sell extra health to get the slots for this. You can also, if you want an earlier power spike, go for this before Lucky Shot, the Veilwalker into combat barrier, but that's just your choice. Either get Lucky Shot first and then go Veilwalker combat barrier, or get Veilwalker combat barrier and then Lucky Shot. This is probably the best way to build Brawler Haze before you move on to building the ult stuff, which I will talk about in the next section. So now let's talk about the ultimate version of Haze and what I believe is the best way to play Haze, and that's focusing on getting your ultimate as strong as possible as early as possible. So instead of going return fire, you will pick up extra stamina before you pick up your bullet lifesteal. That's just for the extra 7% fire rate and base health. It's just a cheap upgrade to your health and a cheap way to get the same fire rate as return fire would give you. Since we're only focusing on ult, we don't need return fire as we're not going to be brawling as often at all. And we're also going to pick up sprint boots at some point in this. You can do it pretty much any order. It's just extra health is always going to be the first one you pick up. We're also going to have our Quicksilver reload, the same as the other build. It's going to help us clear camps much faster. And if we do get into any fights that we can't escape, we're going to be using this to win the fights as well. You're still strong in these fights. You're just not as strong as you would be if you were using the Brawler build with return fire. We're also not going to pick up slowing hex, which is going to limit our gank potential a little bit, but it's going to help us save up for Ricochet earlier. This point in the build, maybe even before I bought extra stamina or sprint boots, is where I'm 100% saving up for Ricochet. By this money point, you will probably have enough skill points to have ordered your upgrades like this. So now that I have Ricochet, I have max fixation, and I have max bullet dance. This just makes your ultimate extremely powerful, because Ricochet does interact with your ultimate. Every single bullet that's fired is going to proc 2 Ricochet shots to the 2 nearest targets, and with the max upgraded ultimate, you're hitting 2 targets per shot, which means even with 6 people in your AoE, you're going to be hitting everyone with a lot of damage because you're hitting 2 targets and it's ricocheting twice per target, making a total of 6 recipients from the damage of your ultimate. Another bonus to Ricochet is that it increases the range of your ult. So even if these guys are standing outside the ult, they're going to be getting hit by the Ricochet from this guy who is inside the ult. So it's the biggest power spike Haze can possibly get. It makes her ultimate extremely powerful. And if you save up for it this early, it's going to allow you to quickly join a team fight. They're not going to be expecting Haze's ult to be this overpowered this early, and you're probably going to get a few kills and just increase your snowball extremely hard. Once you've used your ult for this team fight and snowballed extremely hard, you're going to be using it to farm. The next items you want to pick up are going to be Bullet Resist Shredder and Mystic Reach. Bullet Resist Shredder is just going to be an overall buff to your damage, your left click, and your ult when a fixation procs the spirit damage, and Mystic Reach is going to increase the range of your ult. It's also going to increase the range of Ricochet, so people can be even further away from the people that are in your ult, and they're still going to be getting hit by the ricochets. Here's where you've got to make a choice based on the game that you are in. You either want to go for Unstoppable next, or you want to go for Silencer next. If the enemy team consists of a lot of heroes with escape abilities, like an Infernus or a Wraith, Talon or Vindictor, them sort of heroes, then you want to go for Silencer first. Obviously, you can pick up slowing bullets before if you know you're going for Silencer, because that's going to stop enemies from being able to escape your ultimate, right? And you're going to be able to kill people much more reliably. However, if you're against a team with a lot of stuns, like if you're against an Ivy or an Abrams or a Dynamo, then you're 100% going to need to pick up Unstoppable before Silencer, just so you can actually get your ult off. So you're going to engage, pop your active reload, pop your kinetic dash, and then you're going to ult and press Unstoppable. And now the only choice enemies have to stop you from killing them is to escape the AoE of the ult, which at this point is going to be very, very hard for them, as you have the Mystic Reach and you have Ricochet, increasing your range heavily. Then no matter which order you went, you're 100% going to pick up the other one next. The combination of these two is incredible. It means people can't cancel you from your ult, and it means it makes it incredibly hard for them to escape, with the 25% slow on the bullets and making them unable to cast any of their escape abilities. These are the first tier 4 items you want to go on Haze ult version 100% of the time, with Ricochet always being the first, since it is the thing that makes Haze's ult so broken. Right now, with the way it is, there's no way you aren't buying Ricochet first, unless you're just having fun with the Brawler build like I spoke about before. And then these two come next as they work together so well. Now you have some choices on what to do. If somehow your ult isn't doing enough damage quick enough, because they have a lot of tanks, then you want to go for Vampiric Burst. This is going to give you a 40% fire rate increase when you pop it, which is unbelievable. A crazy amount of damage, and it's going to build up the fixation stacks from your ult extremely fast. It's also going to give you 100% bullet lifesteal during the active, which just makes Haze's ult crazy. My personal favorite one to go now is Shadow Weave, and that's because it's going to give us the same fire rate as Vampiric Burst would. At this point in the game, we're going to have our smoke bomb fully upgraded, so we will have the 30% bullet lifesteal when we leave smoke bomb's invis, on top of our active reload and our bullet lifesteal. So let's see what that looks like real quick. That's 80% bullet lifesteal. So you don't really need the Vampiric Burst for the sustain. You'd just be getting it for the fire rate increase, really. Now, Shadow Weave gives you the same fire rate increase, but it also is going to give you 30% ammo without even using it. It's going to give you Spirit Shield health, which is going to help with Haze's squishiness, and health regen, which is going to help with just staying out there and not having to base so much. But another amazing thing it's going to do is give you 55 ambush spirit power when you leave Shadow Weave's invis. Now, because our bullet dance scales off of spirit power, it's going to increase the duration heavily. So here it says 5.88 seconds. I don't think this is going to affect the tooltip, so we'll just have to time it. But 5.88 seconds. And when you come out of ambush, yeah, it doesn't change, but it's going to last an extra 2 or so seconds, which is just incredible for Haze's ult. At this point, you don't really need to get any more of the tier 4 items. There are some good ones. Spiritual Overflow is good for the same reason Ambush is. It's going to give you the spirit power just from hitting shots, which is going to increase the duration of your ult. It's also going to give you 20% flat fire rate. Definitely an item to look at. But here I like to go for improved reach, just making your ult even more disgusting. And you could definitely go this item before Shadow Weave. Just look how huge that AoE is. It is massive. And your Ricochet range is absolutely massive too now. The range of Ricochet is 17.5 meters. So they can be this far out of the range of the ult. But as long as there's a teammate in it, they're going to be taking damage, which is insane. Like, this ultimate is too broken when you combine all these items. If you want to, and you find yourself brawling a bit more, at some point you can go improve Spirit to get some more ammo. It's a huge ammo increase. And it's also, again, going to increase the duration of Bullet Dance. This build right now is giving it 8 seconds, and that's without the extra duration added from the Ambush Spirit Power. At some point, obviously, in the game, you will have upgraded Enduring Speed. It's genuinely preference when you do this, and it varies from game to game. Maybe they don't have too many slows on the enemy team, so maybe you won't even end up buying it at all. But this, for me, is the best way to play Haze, as opposed to the Brawler build. Just because her ult is just too powerful to ignore. You can't be buying something like Lucky Shot for the Brawler build, in my opinion. It's 6,000 gold that's gonna, delay the power spike of your ult way too hard. You want to be rushing Ricochet as early as I showed you, farming and snowballing with it, and becoming absolutely unstoppable and a 1v6 monster. The last thing to note is that with either of these builds, you can sell your cheap green items later for more flex slots. For example, replacing extra health with Spiritual Overflow or Crippling Headshot or even Vampiric Burst. Anything like that is going to be extremely good for Haze. You could even go Leech if you're struggling to stay alive during your ult somehow, which you really shouldn't be. But yeah, just to give you an example. Inhibitor also is great for Haze. It's going to give a 25% extra movement slow on her bullets. So this works very well with Silencer, giving a 50% movement slow during your ult. Definitely something you can try out. But experiment with these last few slots on what you like the most. There's definitely no best in slot here. The only thing you have to follow is if you're going ult, you want to go for Ricochet, then Silencer or Unstoppable, but you definitely want both of them. And if you're going for the Brawler build, then you want to go for Lucky Shot and then transition into these same items later on to buff your ult a little bit later than the Ricochet Rush version. But yeah, this has been my build guide for Haze. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and it's not been too complicated. I haven't actually done 2 different variations in one single video before, so I hope it wasn't too hard to follow. Please comment me some feedback down below. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.